Hello, welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. I'm so happy to be here talking about Hobbs and Shaw. Here is your review. I'm a little late because I didn't get to do it late last night because I didn't get to see the film Thursday, but better than later, I suppose. Look, I'm a big action fan. I'm a 90s action kid. I just put Toy Soldiers, the VHS copy, on my set, which is right there. If you saw my Instagram, follow me on Instagram. I do a lot of fun pictures. But look, I'm a big action fan. And I'm a big fan of The Rock and Jason Statham. So I like the fact that they were sort of leaving the craziness of the Fast and the Furious franchise, because I thought the Fast and the Furious franchise was getting a little too full of itself. Vin Diesel and all them is just, I've got to do serious acting scenes now, and it's all about the family. We're going to have drama. And I don't want any of that. I want fun, dumb action. And so I like this idea of Hobbs and Shaw spinning off to do their own sort of Vin-free world where they can just have fun without all the ego and do something crazy. And so in some ways it delivers that. But sadly, in other ways, it just doesn't deliver as fun as a project as I hoped it would be. I guess my biggest criticism of the film is that it just feels like the whole time it's just trying too hard. The film is directed by David Leitch, who did Deadpool 2 and John Wick and Atomic Blonde. And the film, he directs it in a way that looks legit. I mean, I'm not want to discredit him as a director, but a lot of just fast music and jump cuts and things that he just feels like he's got to over-deliver, that he's trying too hard overall in the project. And I don't think he needed to be so cutty and so many loud, weird cues, and he could have just focused more on the characters and the story and let it flow a little more naturally. Would have been more appealing for me. Instead, it just is just and over a few points, it just was distracting me at the end. I just was losing interest. The action sequences are okay. Now, a day later, I don't even really remember them. That's not a good sign. The best part of the film is when they do get a little bit more real and they focus on the story element, and The Rock goes back to visit his family in Samoa. Definitely the best part, because you're giving the character an arc. There's a payoff. He hasn't seen his family in a while. He's got to go back and confront them. And then you see all that in the trailers of they justify why the bad guys can't use their guns and they're going to use their Samoan clubs. And that sort of is the best part. And then it quickly deviates back to sort of the beginning of the movie and crazy nonsense. But then one really fun sequence, which again, you've seen the trailer, where Idris Elba's in a helicopter and The Rock's got to hold it with all these cars, and that's what I want out of these movies. That sequence was fun. The sequence prior to it was fun. And that I just wanted more of those moments throughout. And that was a good finale. But the rest of the film and the whole sort of third act, where they have to go stop a scientist factory thing and at a nuclear power plant and save everybody, it just is just too much. The action just starts getting so Transformers-y. You're just like, what's happening? There's literally, Idris Elba literally drives a Transformers bike, and they don't really explain how or why. And at first you're like, what? But then it's kind of like not taken advantage of. If you're going to go Transformers bike, then I want to see full Transformer vehicles and planes. Like, to do this weird half-ass moment just showed that the whole film was just disjointed in a way that I didn't see any cohesion of a story. Like even Tango and Cash, even those old 90s action Schwarzenegger action films, there's just a simple but clear plot, and then you just put really clever sequences to keep you forward in the plot and give your character an arc, and just The Rock, I feel like, is just becoming very generic in his action films. He's trying his best. I do feel like he cares. He's trying. He's marketing it like crazy. He brought Samoa in. He brought a lot of his friends in. There are some cameos in this I don't want to give away, but there's some big star cameos that clearly The Rock called some favors in. And so The Rock is doing his damnedest to please you. And I think from that he succeeds, because I think people will like him. He's so genuine that works. But it can only go so far, and he's making so many movies that I wish he would sort of slow down and really focus on story and sequences, like action sequences that are going to be memorable. I think there's really just that Samoa end scene. The rest of it all just sort of bleeds together, and that's the problem with these action movies of late. They just become CGI messes of just crazy cuts and fast things we've seen a billion times, so we're just becoming desensitized to it. And when The Rock does an action movie, he should really take the time to focus on those sequences and the movie itself to make sure he's putting something out there that we haven't seen before, because we have absolutely seen this movie 100 times. It's definitely sillier. That's not true. Fast 5 is pretty silly. Fast 5 is sort of the best version, I think, of what these movies are, and that's when The Rock showed up. And Fast 5 sort of took the serious parts of the family and the Fast and the Furious and that plot, but then added sort of sequences like the safe going through Rio de Janeiro, and just added sequences and characters and fun moments that you're just rooting and you're like, yes, this is fun. And it just doesn't have that. And then John Wick, I feel like even John Wick 3 is losing its steam a little bit. It's getting too lost in its plot, but the action sequences are just always so fantastically choreographed. And so I feel like David Leitch is sort of stuck in this moment of in this movie, trying to make John Wick sequences and they're not as good. And then he's trying to make Fast and the Furious sequences and they're not as good. And so the overall feeling of the movie is just, it's okay. I've seen it before better in the other two films, in the other two franchises. And you're left with just sort of a mediocre, fine summer, August popcorn flick that I think you don't need to see in theaters. You can wait and see this at home, and it's going to do really, I think, bananas on a long-term sort of DVD, Redbox, Netflix, whatever approach or studio it goes to. But not the exciting, fun, action, talk about later action movie that I wish it could have been. Overall, I'd give it like a maybe middle to low thumbs up on this one. I can't give it a full thumbs up. I wish I could, because this is my genre. This is my style. I love these actors. The cameos in the film, as The Rock has been tweeting about, allude to sort of The Rock's team in future movies. Something that he's clearly like trying to double down because he wants to make this a franchise and prove that he can do his own Fast franchise. Because if he fails at this, it's going to not look good for him. And so I think he's very smartly trying to make sure he puts some big players in that of like, see it and check it out. And I'm sure you'll see them in the trailers this Monday. You'll see who I'm talking about if you haven't seen the film, but I don't want to spoil it in case you're seeing it tonight or this weekend. But the problem also with those cameos is sort of just like, I'd rather see that movie. The movie with the other characters would have been more interesting. And so I kind of wish they had just fast forwarded to that point and made that movie. That's always the problem when you tease like, here's what's coming. So watch it more, and then you're like, well, no, I'd rather just watch that, which is a lot of my feelings in Far From Home on Spider-Man. Those last two end set credit scenes were far more interesting than the rest of the movie, and I hate when a film like teases you at the end with better pieces. It's like a part two. You're like, well, what did I pay for part one for? And this film just feels like that. It just very generic things you've seen before: fast cars, CGI action explosions that are just ridiculous. Idris Elba tries his best. I'd like him, but his powers are just confusing. He's powerful, but then he still always gets beaten. Is he? I can't tell how he's supposed to be Black Superman, but man, these two guys just figure out how to always get past him. And that just also made him not very exciting or threatening of a villain. So you didn't have a good villain. Generic sequences. The two leads don't make really any sense why they're there, because they don't really like each other. Now they're forced to like each other, but there's no real reason for these two to need to ever work together again. This sort of was it. So that also is a problem with the film. They're not like partners, which they could have just been partners at an agency. So it'll be interesting to see if this franchise will have any legs. Did you see it? Were you excited to see it? Are you waiting until it hits Redbox? Tell me all your thoughts in the comments down below. That's my feelings on Hobbs and Shaw. Please subscribe and follow me on all the socials. You can follow me here. And make sure to check out my Kickstarter if you want to see my new project that's getting real close to being funded. So I could really use your help now to get it over that hump. I really, really appreciate it. And as always, I will see you next week. Bye.